You are listening to the Outside the Boards podcast. I'm Danny O'Leary. For most of my professional career, I have worked in mainstream sports for some of the world's leading sports organizations and properties and blue-chip brands, helping to create award-winning omni-channel marketing campaigns, result-driven sales strategies, and impactful brand-building initiatives. But all that work doesn't compare to the fun, excitement, and challenges I've been fortunate to experience working for the king of all sports, polo. For nearly a decade, I've put my heart and ambition into helping advance the sport of polo. I've made lifelong friendships, met some incredible people, traveled to memorable polo destinations, and heard the craziest stories. My goal is to share these people, places, and stories with you and provide a unique behind-the-scenes perspective of the game that breaks all the common stereotypes, all while discussing key issues affecting the sport today and the constructive sharing of ideas, insights, solutions, and best case studies for the purpose of advancing polo globally. Every week, I will have honest conversations with polo industry leaders, enthusiasts, and awe-inspiring people who make this sport great and fun to be around. I hope through their knowledge and their unique perspectives, they will motivate and inspire you. Together, we will explore ways you can make small tweaks to boost your polo business, whether you are a club, event, team, or player, that will amount to big changes in revenue, participation, attendance, and exposure. Saddle up. Welcome to Outside the Boards with me, Danny O'Leary. Hi everyone, Danny O'Leary here, and welcome to Season 3 of the Outside the Boards podcast. On this episode of Outside the Boards, I'm really excited to welcome Lafay Polo Team patron and player Louis Devaleix, one of today's most visible and talked about players and teams in professional polo. Taking his first pole lesson just 3 years ago, Louis Devaleix is preparing for his team's return to Florida's high goal season. Born in France, but growing up in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, before coming to the United States, Devaleix's newfound passion for polo launched the adrenaline junkie from the golf course to the polo field seemingly overnight. Surrounding himself with elite athletes including Tengolo Hilario Ulloa and undisputed basketball legend, fellow golfer Michael Jordan, the 41-year-old has already achieved significant milestones in his budding polo career, raising the 2021 and 2022 East Coast Open trophies. Originally only planning to compete in the 18-goal season, Devaleix made his last-minute decision to go all in with the Lafay in the gauntlet of polo and pursue the most prestigious titles in American polo. Although Devaleix does not fit the typical polo player mold at a brawny 6'4", he is a strong defensive presence and devoted student of the game. Humbled by the sacrifices of his pros which have allowed him to play polo, Devaleix is soaking up every opportunity to learn from their experience while finding the time to bond over Argentine asados and Brazilian barbecues. Since living in the United States full-time, he balances career in healthcare IT with his young son and now full polo schedule. Quickly becoming an ambassador for the sport both locally and internationally, Devaleix's path has introduced his family and friends to polo through Global Polo TV and even inspired his business partner to take up the sport. Although coming in as a 20-goal team, Lafay's commitment to their game is evident as Devaleix aims to make an even stronger showing in the second year competing in the gauntlet. Louis and his Lafay team is an incredible operation, and I am thrilled to watch them this coming year as a team to beat in Greenwich, Florida, and Argentina. So let's get started, everyone. Enjoy. Luis Devaleix, how are you, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy belated Thanksgiving.
Thank you to you as well.
Did you do anything special? You're in Florida?
Yeah, but we're in Florida. We went down to the Keys for a little bit. Pamela's family lives most of the time over there. So we went there and met up with the family and had a really, really good time and a lot to be thankful for.
That's great. It's a big family.
Yeah, they're a big family. 4 brothers, a sister. Yeah, for sure. A lot.
We love Pamela up here in Chicago. She is a dear friend of mine. She was my first guest on Season 1 podcast for Outside the Boards, and she's great. And let me say congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yep. We love her down here as well. So she's by far the best human I know. So
good deal. And then that date's coming up, isn't it?
The date's coming up. Yep. So early next summer. So
early next summer. Okay. Gotcha.
Correct. Yeah. About a month and a half after the season is over.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, do you have any big holiday plans in the next month or so?
We may go to Europe to visit some family, but that's about it.
So now, where are you from originally, Louis?
I'm originally from Brazil and France as well. So,
Oh, cool. What part of France?
Burgundy, it's about 2 hours south of Paris.
Okay.
So I was born there, and right away, my parents had already lived in Brazil at the time. I was just born there and stayed there for just a short while, and lived my whole life in Brazil until I turned 16, at which time I moved to America. So my heart, especially right now with the World Cup, is with Brazil. So
I would imagine. Yeah, absolutely.
I love the U.S.
What brought you to the U.S.?
I used to play golf. I dreamt of being a professional golfer one day, just like a lot of kids. And moving to America was the best move to be able to learn how to speak English, and eventually got a golf scholarship to play golf in university.
Where was that golf scholarship at?
I went to Tulane University in New Orleans.
Okay. Wonderful.
Played mini tour golf for 2 years. And when my dad got sick, it was time to get a real job. So,
well, golf opens up an enormous amount of doors. My gosh.
Sure.
People conduct business on the golf course.
Yes, they do.
That's awesome, man. When I read about your background in golf, and I felt like, oh my gosh, I think I might be talking to the first guy that went from something like golf to polo. Usually I talk to people who have already part of some adrenaline junkie sport before that, like rugby or football or hockey. We get a lot of hockey people up here in the Midwest. So you started polo not that long ago, right?
I started polo. It's going to be coming up on 3 years.
And you had no association with the sport or equestrian sports before that?
No, I've never been on a horse before.
Wow. And I think I read somewhere you have a sister, right?
I have a sister, yeah.
And I think I read somewhere she was a jumper.
She was a jumper.
Okay.
So when we were growing up in Brazil, we were fortunate enough that we were able to have, both golf and horses, available to us. And I picked golf and she picked, jumping. So,
So how were you introduced to the game of polo?
I was introduced to the game of polo through a gentleman named Carlos Gonzalez. He used to run a kids polo school called Sunset Polo at the time. And I got a couple lessons from him, and that was it. I mean, I was hooked from the moment I had a mallet in my hand. I mean, I couldn't even hit the ball, but I just fell in love with the sport, with the animals. Horses are resilient and they're just so beautiful. And I sucked at it really bad. So I still do. But, the ability to, on a daily basis, learn something new, working with another living being and the horses and the team aspect of the sport is just something that, you can't find anywhere else.
Is it something that you wish that you may have started at a younger age to some degree?
Yeah. I wish I started back when I picked up golf. So, maybe 3 or 4 years old. I mean, I look at my son is starting to be passionate with the horses and polo, and he just turned 5. So, but at the same time, if I started that back in Brazil, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So just happy I got to pick it up when I did.
Now, is polo popular in Brazil? I know in South America you have Argentina.
Argentina is the mecca. Not very popular. It's popular in São Paulo, which is not where I grew up. I grew up in Rio, but in Rio, where the golf course is located, it's a golf and polo club. So you have a couple teams out of there. But my understanding, and I've never played down there, I've had the pleasure of meeting the 2 top pros in Brazil at the moment when I was in Argentina recently, and they both play in São Paulo. So my understanding is that São Paulo, as far as polo goes, is the mecca in Brazil, but obviously nothing compared to Argentina.
How about in the United States? Not as big?
It's all relative, right? The U.S. is a much bigger country. As far as in a concentrated area, I don't know if you ever had the pleasure of going to Pilata. It's amazing. I mean, everywhere you look, it's a polo field, one after the other. And it doesn't matter if you're 4 or 5 years old or, 70, 80 years old. People are playing left and right everywhere. And it's so much more affordable, which obviously I love that.
Yeah.
About Argentina. But I've only had the pleasure of playing in Florida and New York. Well, actually, I got to play at the Ganzi's place in Denver this summer. So, but I understand California has polo, Texas, Alabama. So I'm not too sure what the stats are. But certainly a lot bigger in Argentina if you just go to Pilar. I mean, it's just amazing.
Oh yeah, in the United States, I mean, there's pockets of it. You're obviously Greenwich, Florida, Santa Barbara, Houston, has a great community. Aiken also has a great community. No doubt the Ganseys and Aspen are also in Florida. I know here in Chicago, we're continuously growing. I think we're probably going to be within the 12 or 14 goal range. But yeah, that's pockets everywhere in the U.S. So is that your kind of goal overall, is just kind of traveling throughout the U.S. or even the world, getting your feel for the game? Or is it something that, you kind of want to find your nest in, let's say, New York, in Florida, Argentina, that sort of thing? I mean, you're so early in your polo career. I mean, the world is your oyster.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, again, obviously it goes back to finances as well. And it's unfortunate, I think, as far as polo goes. I mean, obviously, the SPA, they do a great job. But I mean, you go to Argentina and people who don't play polo love polo. Mm-hmm. And they're fanatics. My understanding is back in the day, polo used to be a sport where it was a lot more popular than it is today in America. Mm-hmm. I think that the pockets you have in the U.S. is basically a lot of the people, they're basically people who play, who go to the game. And then the spectators who don't play, it's much more of a show. And I think that's unfortunate. Part of the reason behind that, I think people don't understand the rules. I can tell you with our teams, we've had the opportunity to probably attract not a whole lot of people, but definitely the last, 22 goal season, we had at least 200 or 300 people, maybe a little bit north of that we were able to drag to the games so that they could see the games. And we sent them all a brief 4-minute video on the basic rules of polo, and they were able to enjoy it and they loved it and they keep coming back now. It's not about the show that you may sometimes see, which is totally fine. People have a good time, but I just wish that there was something that we could do to make the sport a lot more popular in the US. And I'm a little bit biased because I have the pleasure of playing the sport. Mm-hmm. I would have started watching it a long time ago if I just knew the rules and there was more attention brought around the sport.
Yeah.
Like I said, never had people come to the game that have never played before not come back. They all love it because they have an understanding of what the sport is like. So I think there's a lot to be done in the US. And, as far as attracting new spectators, we can certainly do a lot better job at it. I think there's a lot to be done and there's a lot lacking right now.
Yeah.
For the sport here in the US especially.
No question about it. Up here in Chicago with the Pro Polo Club, I mean, we have regulars. Once they attend their first match, they're hooked. And we're going to constantly see them back over and over and over again. You described a little bit about how I got and fell in love with the sport because I came from mainstream sports. Like yourself, I was working on the PGA Tour, USGA, all the biggies, NCAA sports, NFL, Formula One, you name it, and stumbled across polo. And I was hooked. I felt as though this game does not get the treatment it deserves as a sport. It's primarily pretty women, the royal family, all this pomp and champagne bottles, when that's not really the case. I had a great conversation, my last podcast that I had with Jennifer Luttrell of Cotterell Polo Farm up in Idaho.
Okay.
We were talking about, when you pull back that curtain, the game becomes more beautiful. What goes into the breeding aspect, putting together a team, the warlike, adrenaline-fueled atmosphere on the field. What these guys and the pros are able to do with a mallet and a ball that's the size of a baseball is absolutely incredible. To use the other sport that you play, I'm pretty sure you're well aware of that famous commercial with Tiger Woods bouncing the ball on the wedge.
Sure.
Let's put that in comparison with Adolfo Cambiaso going 30 miles per hour down a polo field, bouncing a polo ball off the end of a non-flat mallet. It's incredible. It's incredible. The athletes, the horses, you name it, it's a whole nother ball game out here. And then obviously you mentioned Argentina, culturally, the horse is so continuously used within their country more so than the U.S. And you talked about accessibility and the financial thing. I had a great conversation with Fred Mannix last season where we actually dived down into that cultural comparison. Why is polo so much accessible and available in Argentina versus here in the United States, where it's incredibly expensive? But yeah, I mean, polo in the U.S., go back to the 1930s, go back to the 1940s. I think there's 15 to 20 clubs up here in Chicago alone. And it used to be the Mecca here. The U.S. Open was here for 25 years in Oak Brook. So yeah, there was a time where thousands upon thousands of people, I think it was the 1930s, there was an East and West Coast match, at the Awencia Golf Club, which actually used to be a polo club as well, where I think there was 40,000 people over a 3-day tournament that took place here. That's unheard of.
About that. It's unheard of, but that doesn't mean that it can't be done again.
Exactly.
Again, in my opinion, I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Yeah, but I think from your perspective, pulling back that curtain and getting to know the sport, and people like you who played collegiate golf can really understand the importance and the beautiful side of the game of what's involved. So I'm sorry, I was rambling. This is where I'm really passionate about.
No, I share your passion. It's just unfortunate. I think the USPA's got a lot of work to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that, the players on the different teams also have a lot of work to do. We've been around for 2.5 years now. We've yet to have a single discussion, been approached by anybody on how we could, collaborate and help grow the sport.
Yeah.
It's just kind of sad. So I hope that changes because, again, it is hands down the most beautiful sport in the world.
No doubt. And I got to give you a compliment. What you've done with Lefay and your Instagram, your marketing yourself, the videos and what you do, there's very few teams that really do a good job of that. The Alegria team, Fred Mannix, they do a fantastic job. Bob Janarvis and the Valiente team, when they were kind of floating around, they always did a great job. And there are others. So I definitely got to give you kudos to that team because I just enjoy following you guys on social media.
Yeah.
All right. So you got into polo not that long ago. You are a bit of an adrenaline junkie.
Correct.
And you do skydiving.
Yes.
How did you get involved in that? It's just strange that golf kind of popped into all of this too.
So my father used to do it and he pushed me to do it. So when I turned 18 in America, I got my license. And it's a sport that I used to get to share with him and loved every second of it. Obviously, I'm a little bit more careful now.
Mm-hmm. How did your dad get into that? Is it popular down in Brazil?
No, it's not. We don't have a whole lot of drop zones. It's a lot more popular in America. But back in the days, he started when he was in the Army, and then it just carried over, and it's something that we got to share together. So
okay, that makes sense, though, being that he was in the Army. I'm sure he jumped out of a lot of planes.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's a really very niche community of individuals that do that. Now, do you still jump today or no?
Yeah, still. Yeah, you guys have a great drop zone up there. Skydive Chicago is probably the most popular drop zone, I would say, in the U.S. with, a few others out on the West Coast and Sebastian here in Florida. So, but yeah, I still do it today. Last time, actually, I took Pamela, and not as much as I used to because, especially right now, I don't really want to get injured prior to the season.
No doubt about it. I know, I guess there's Chicago Skydive. I have heard it's actually just north of us on 294 because I'm from Wisconsin. So as we drive up during the summertime, you can see little specks dropping from the sky.
Yep.
But my gosh, that's incredible. Where's been your favorite place to skydive?
I'd probably say back home in Rio. I would say overall, that's the most beautiful places to jump.
So before polo, did you play any other team sport besides that? Or no, it was just exclusively golf?
No, it was exclusively golf. I played some football or soccer, I guess you call it here, growing up in Brazil, obviously, and a little bit here in high school when I moved to America, and swim. But as far as team sports go, I'd say, polo. Now,
looking at you, you're 6'4", you're incredibly built. You probably get it a lot, but my first impression would be a rugby player off the top of my head. Yeah. I don't know if you get that a lot.
Yeah, sometimes baseball.
Do you find that to be one of the challenging things? I think I watched a video where you had mentioned that you've fallen off and you continue to fall off. Does your height and size, does it make polo difficult for you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
On the contrary, I know there's a stigma. A lot of the polo players are built the same way, but if anything, to hook a mallet, it's easier, or should be easier. And, I think a lot because I'm not good at it and, obviously learning, I think a lot of the reasons why I've been injury prone for polo for sure. But I think that, being in the gym and working out is definitely one of the reasons why, I've been able to kind of fight off some of the injuries. Can't tell you how many times I've fallen or crashed into people or people crashed into me. At least according to our team trainer, he says that because of the fact that I go to the gym and work out, I'm able to kind of fight off some of these injuries. It's like everything. I mean, maybe it's not the right solution, but you mentioned golf. I mean, before Tiger came and started playing, I mean, everybody was little and fitness wasn't really something that was.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
And, you look at it today, my business partner started playing. He was 60 pounds overweight and he picked up polo and lost 60 pounds in a matter of 3 months and got into the gym and started working out and stretching. And it's just so important. The beauty about the sport is you don't have to work out to play, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think if you want to be good at something, you really got to give it your best. And it's not just working on your writing. You've got to look at your diet. You've got to look at your workout regimen. There's so much that goes into it.
Yeah, not to mention the muscles that you never thought that you actually existed beforehand that you're using.
No, horrible. Yeah, you're 100% right.
My boss, Jim Jury, who just retired from the game at 80, he had a great quote. You don't get into polo to get fit. You have to be fit to play polo.
Yeah.
It really forces you to be conscious of your fitness and your health beyond riding the game. It's not like you're going out and just running, which is, part of your fitness regimen. Like you have to go above and beyond that before you get on a horse. Do you find that true?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. That's a great way to put it. It's a good quote.
So going back to your polo career, so you got hooked, you hit your first pro, you're at the Sunset Polo Club. What happened after that? Because you went on a very fast trajectory from learning the game to playing in the Gauntlet and then the East Coast Open. So what happened within that first year?
So I was playing 2 to 4 goals when we started out. And then I met a gentleman by the name of Julio Escuda and the owners of his team, John Klopp and Craig Kellen, who play down in Wellington. They also run the polo club in Mishomic. They do just an amazing job. And they kind of took me under their wing and started inviting me to their practices at Smithfield Farms. That was located in Loxahatchee at the time. Now they are at Luis Escobar's place. But they took me under their wing and, I started progressing a little bit more. I was playing 4 goal and 6 goal. They invited me to New York to play in Mishomic 2 years ago. And then I got introduced. They were playing with a gentleman, Robbie Bilbao, at the time on their team with Julio. And when I got introduced to Robbie, everything kind of changed.
And you were playing just 2 to 4 goals still at this time?
I was playing 2 to 4 goals, yeah.
Okay. And was it at Sunset or what other clubs around that time did you move to?
I think I played up in Vero twice. I played at Hope Sound Polo a couple times, 4 goals. Mm-hmm. And then 2 summers ago, I got to sub for a player who was unavailable. I sub for him in Mishomic, and I played my first A goal. And the A goal up there is super serious, and I was hooked. It's just a tough sport to play. And when I met Robbie, and everything kind of changed with the horses. He's made horses available at a cost-effective price. And again, I know I speak a lot about Robbie, but just couldn't play the sport if it wasn't for him because financially it's just not feasible. We're probably with the organization budget-wise, it's kind of challenging, and Robbie just makes it possible. I mean, it's just amazing.
And I learned that with a lot of the patrons these days, like yourself, where they do gravitate and have developed a relationship with a pro. Up here, it's Horacio Onato that we've been working with for probably more than a decade, and not only has history within Chicago, but they've grown and they have a trust to help build their team, build their strings, and so on and so forth. But yeah, that's more common than you think. Now, at this time, did you have your own horses, or were you leasing them, or were you just working with Robbie?
Yeah, I had a couple horses. Again, that was it for me at the time. I mean, I was capped at that. And then Robbie came in and started providing opportunities of payment plans. And if I didn't like a horse, as long as it was within a certain time period, and I obviously didn't break the horse, he would provide me with new horses that were more suitable for my riding. So from then on, I was able to have access to more horses for a fraction of what the cost would normally be, because he has a breeding operation in Argentina, which at the time, he started a long time ago. I mean, he started as a young kid breeding his own horses. So all I had to do was just, pay for the tickets of the horses to come. And quickly and cost effectively, I was able to have my own string within just a matter of a couple of months. So it was really, really nice.
I mean, within that first year, you're going from 0 to 8, right? Were you playing anything higher than that in the first year?
No.
Was it scary at all to be going that fast really quick? Or is it something that your body, you're young enough to really move at that type of pace?
I was falling a lot, but.
And usually that would be a deterrent, but it wasn't for you.
Loved every second of it. So. Yeah.
You're used to jumping out of planes, just not maybe as used to falling on the ground.
Correct.
Yeah. So your second year, so you went from 8-goal. What happened in that second year? Were there any big tournaments that you played on the 8-goal level that were exciting to you? Yeah,
I mean, the only 8-goal tournament I played 2 years ago was the one in Mashomak, which was super exciting. I mean, again, the teams and the owners of the teams up there, John Klopp and Craig Callan, they just do such an amazing job with the organization. I mean, everybody has their own team. Everybody, again, they take it very, very seriously up there.
Yeah.
The 8-goal was amazing. And then last year, we were more prepared. We had an 8-goal team in which we played all the tournaments. And then I got a taste of the 16-goal in Greenwich last year.
Mm-hmm.
We played a tournament, and Ilario Joa flew from the UK to New York, and we played in the East Coast Open.
How'd you do?
Last year we won.
So then year 2, then you're going from 8 all the way to 16.
Correct.
Did you felt like personally that you did pretty well on playing on the 16 level?
I did terrible.
If you were to identify a weakness in your game, what do you think that you need to continue to learn more?
Everything.
Everything. Is there one item in particular? Is it riding or just riding in general? Is it hitting the ball?
Everything.
Everything.
Everything. Every day. I mean, you can improve on everything every day. I mean, my riding needs to improve, my handling of the ball, the swing, you name it.
Now, who's been your primary coach through all this? Has it been Robbie as well?
Correct. Yeah, Robbie. And then Fran, he works with me as well on my game quite a lot. And then Lucas Devaleix also works with me a lot. And then these past couple of months, I had the pleasure to get coached a little bit by Lucas's father, Piqui, down in Argentina. So, but I try to get advice from everybody. Just try to find out what works for me. So
it was then this past year was the first time that you got into the gauntlet?
Yeah, we weren't going to play in the gauntlet because, again, financially it wasn't feasible for us. But the gentleman that Fran Elizarde was going to work for last winter, unfortunately got hurt. And Fran just made it possible for us to be able to play in the 22. So we opted to not play in the 16 and instead we played in the 22.
That's great, man. And you did a great job down there too, did you not?
I mean, I wouldn't call it a great job. I think we only won half of our games, but Fran broke his shoulder. We had higher expectations, that's for sure.
Yeah.
If Fran was healthy, then we would have done a lot better.
And you'll be back again for this season in 2023, right?
We're back again. Yeah, we're playing the 22, the 16, the 12, and the 8.
And all at the National Polo Center?
No, the 12 is at Port Mayaca.
Okay.
The 16, I think they have one tournament in Port Mayaca, and then the other ones are it's the Wellington Polo Tour. So I believe they play most of the games at Valiente, my understanding. And then the 8 will do at NPC as well.
My gosh, you're going to be busy.
Yeah. Pamela's playing again in the U.S. Women's Open. So, we're fortunate enough that she accepted to name her team Lafay. So, we're looking forward to having a team in the U.S. Women's Open.
Outside the Board Season 3 podcast is presented by the United States Polo Association. The United States Polo Association is organized and exists for the purpose of promoting the game of polo, coordinating the activities of its member clubs and registered player members, arranging and supervising polo tournaments, competitions, and games, and providing rules, handicaps, and tournament conditions for those events. Its overarching goals are improving the sport and promoting the safety and welfare of its human and equine participants. Founded in 1890, the USPA is the largest voluntary sports organization in North America for the sport of polo. The USPA is currently made up of more than 200 member clubs and over 5,000 registered player members. It annually awards and oversees roughly 50 national tournaments hosted by its member clubs. For more information, please visit uspolo.org. Now, Aside from the usual suspects that you guys have been playing with, do you have different players on your 8, 16, 22 teams? I mean, who's all playing for you?
Yeah, so the 22 is Fran, Lucas, Robbie, and I. The 16 is going to be Fran, Robbie, Fino Merlo, and myself. The 12 is going to be Robbie, Juan Solivera, and we're looking for a 2-goaler right now. We've got somebody in mind. Hopefully we'll have that wrapped up over the next couple of days. Mm-hmm. And then the 8 will be, again, Robbie. Like Robbie plays in everything. And then probably we'll switch. It'll depend. My business partner, he's got the Dazzles polo team, and he got hurt pretty bad in Argentina. So, he was also supposed to play in the 8. So we're going to see how that works out. We've got Nico de Salverde, who is Lucas's brother. And then we have Baldo Palomeke, who also works with the Lafayette organization. So they're both 4 goals. Mm-hmm. So we don't quite know yet. And then Pamela and I will play. I'm just not sure if I'll get to play with Pam or if Pam will play with David, but we're going to figure it out kind of as the season goes on. If David is healthy, we'll have 2 teams in the A goal. Yeah. And then if not, we'll just have to figure it out.
And is the Dazzles team exclusive to ACL?
No, Dazzles team, no. Again, for us, amazing story. David had never ridden a horse before, took his first polo lesson back at the end of February, was playing the A goal at NPC within 5 weeks, 6 weeks after he'd been on the horse for the first time. Had his own organization in New York. We played together in the 8 goal. He got a taste of the 16 goal. So he's actually playing the 16 goal, and he's also playing the 22 goal with Nico Piedes, Dylan, and Santi Torres. So
my gosh. So, and David had as fast of start as you did.
No, much faster.
Much faster.
Yeah.
So everyone who's listening right now, I think you and David are perfect examples of don't be afraid of this game. If you're willing to commit to it, you can go from 0 and play with the best. But as you kind of alluded to, like it's going to take a lot of work, both while you're on the field and learning the game, as well as health-wise off the field.
Yeah. Health-wise is definitely the big thing. So we'll find out later on. Tomorrow probably if David is going to need surgery. If he's going to need surgery, then his schedule is going to change. Otherwise he's the type of person who'll play polo even if he can't hold a mallet in his hand. So we'll see how that goes. But the plan is if everybody's healthy, both teams will get to be part of something pretty special.
And then you said you'll have a Lafayette women's team in the Open with Pamela playing. Who else is going to be on that team? Do you know yet?
Yes, she's playing with Hazel and she's playing with Hope Arellano. So the 4th is to be determined, to my understanding. If she knows who it is, she's keeping it a secret. But I know they're looking for a 4th.
Well, if I was a betting man, that roster is pretty damn good.
Yeah, you've seen Pamela play. You don't want to bet against her.
No, but Hazel and Hope on the team too. You have
that's storm. For sure.
Yeah,
you've got the 2 best players in the world on the same team together.
Yeah.
And it's just fascinating. And I think they're playing, the final is going to be, at NPC on Sunday, which is amazing. And just how women's polo's developed, at least, I've only seen it for a couple of years now, but with people like Pamela and her teammates involved, just further growing the sport is tremendous.
No doubt about it. The women in this game is incredible, and how they're kind of just leading the way.
Yeah, they're so tough. I had the pleasure of playing with Pam a couple of times, and we were going to play together in the 16, but we had to make some changes there because if anybody crashes into her, I think I'd probably get kicked out of the USPA for a couple of years. So I'd rather watch from the sidelines.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, we had Hope on a podcast last season, and actually we have Hazel scheduled to be on the coming weeks. She's in Argentina right now, so she's playing in the Argentine Open.
Correct, she is.
So it's going to be exciting talking to them, but my gosh, that's a stellar team.
Yes. Super excited to get to witness that. And
yeah, just to watch the team in general is going to be incredible just to see how they all do.
Yeah, we'll definitely be rooting for her. And both her and Hazel are going to play Lafayette horses. So that's going to be amazing as well. Robbie's making that happen. So we're super excited.
And I think I read somewhere also is that you're starting to play now in Argentina, working with Robbie. Correct. And you're starting to get into breeding now. So how did that all come about? Now you're getting into the business of polo, not just the team aspect and playing.
Wouldn't call it a business just yet, but maybe in 5 or 6 years.
Is it profitable?
For Robbie, yes. So, but it certainly helps offset the expenses. And again, the breeding, it's something that is a passion of Robbie's and all the team players as well.
Yeah.
As well as Pam. So that part of it it's just been amazing seeing the different combinations and possibilities. We're going to bring a lot of the horses that we have here now back to Argentina, our better horses, so that we can focus more and play more in Argentina. Robbie told me a year and a half ago, he goes, if you want to learn how to play polo, you got to play in Argentina. So I got a taste of that last year. And this year, we were fortunate, got to play in the 24, 20 goal, 10 goal tournaments. So, and we got to play with Fran a lot and Lucas. And it's just a different animal down there. Everything is so much quicker. The fields are amazing. Mm-hmm. It's just polo, polo, polo the whole time. So it makes you such a more complete player and a better player.
And that's a question I ask a lot of players, especially pros, the difference in the game and the pace of play from Argentina compared to the United States. And they always say it's a far more quicker game down there. What do you pinpoint that on? Is that just the rules in general? I know that between chukkers and halftime, like there's no time at all. It just jumps from one to the other relatively quickly. Are just the rules that different where the game is just that much faster?
So actually they changed that this year. Obviously not for the high goal for the Argentine Open, but even when we were playing, the 24 goal, they were allowing horse change for safety reasons, which I think is both for the horses and the players. Mm-hmm. Thought that was really nice. But as far as the speed goes, you're getting the best players in the world. I mean, the kids that are, 0 goal out there, 13, 14, 15 years old, they play the same way that maybe an American 2-goaler would play. You're getting the best of the best, regardless of their handicap, and you put all of them together on the field. I mean, you're bound to see something really special.
Yeah. So to contribute that, you have younger professionals that probably a little bit more risk takers, made of rubber, that sort of thing.
Sure.
Compared to someone who's in their 20s or 30s.
Yes. And again, also everywhere you look is polo.
Yeah.
When I was down there, we were playing a game a day tournament and practice a day. I mean, some days, I had the opportunity to play 18 chukkers in one day. So 3 different games. It's unbelievable.
Well, and the breed of horses too, and the training, I'm sure is also plays a huge factor in it compared to what might be available up here in the United States.
Of course. Completely agree, yes.
Have you been enjoying the breeding side of the business?
Yes, we're just, getting started. We're really looking forward to next year. We're going to bring, with Robbie, the best horses back down to Argentina in April, and they'll stay there indefinitely. So we'll be able to we're looking forward to getting a lot of embryos and different types of horses that we have down there. So we're going to focus on bringing the better performing ones back to Argentina so we can play in a year's time in some of the higher goal stuff down there.
Is your breeding program, is it only in Argentina, or do you have some of it going on up here in the United States?
No, it's only in Argentina. And I wouldn't call it so much a breeding program. Breeding program is like the big organizations, but we're just getting started. I think we have 25 or 30 babies, coming along this year. And, the idea is eventually we would want to be in the 50 to 100 range over the next couple of years. That'd be great.
I had a very interesting conversation with Jenny Luttrell with Cotterell. They have 200 ponies out in Idaho, and she's graduating equine science and very much into the breeding program. But yeah, to your point, it's like a good 5 years going from baby all the way through training, where then the horse is then kind of a polo pony available to sell at that point. So you look at it, you're just getting started off. Polo's in the queue for a good 5 years.
Yes.
It's a fascinating industry. No doubt about it.
It's more expensive in America too. So at least for us. So that's why we don't even want to, go down that avenue. We don't have any land per se. Normally when we turn the horses out, we have the opportunity to go to Maureen Brennan's place for a couple of months out of the year, but be able to have your own breeding operation here in the US is just really expensive.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I know I spoke with Chris Green. He was on one of my podcasts that, the USPA does have an interest in trying to develop polo breeding here in the U.S., not comparable to, but based maybe on the success of what they've been able to do in Argentina. And there's very few people that do it in the U.S. I mean, that do it well. Cotterell, I think, is one of the few that do it at a pretty large scale in terms of the quality. And then you have, Valiente out in Colorado. I don't even know what some of the other ones might be in terms of that scale. But I mean, all the biggies are obviously, to your point, are all in Argentina. That's for sure. So you'll be in the gauntlet. You're playing in everything from 8 goal all the way up. Are you going to think about playing in the 26 of the Ganseys at Grand Champions or no?
That may be a little too much. They just came out with their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it come through a couple of days ago, so I'm going to sit down with Robbie. But if we have the opportunity to play there, that'd be great. They do a really, really good job. I mean, we had, the pleasure of being invited to their place back in, I believe, July of this year in Denver. And it's beautiful and spectacular.
Now, after the Open, where do you go next?
To Argentina. Argentina mid-April till very end of May. So trying to get my handicap up so that hopefully I can play in Canada down there one day. And then Pamela and I get married, and then we go up to New York, and we'll be playing in Mashomek. Mashomek is actually coming back out with a 12-goal polo. So they added 2 12-goal tournaments to their calendar, which, we really hope that works out. It'd be an amazing opportunity to attract some of the great players that, sometimes have a couple months without a job there, and then play in the 16. And obviously we're changing our team for next year because Robbie and I both went up in handicap. I'm not sure when that goes into effect. I think like right now, this month, I guess.
Yeah.
So Lucas will no longer play with us in the East Coast Open. Fan will come back, and Robbie, and we're going to play with Lucas's little brother, Nico.
Okay.
In the East Coast Open. So we'll try to defend the title there.
And then do you have plans on going anywhere in the fall, or, is there at any time during the year where you kind of just take a break?
No. Back to Argentina.
Okay. And when you go back to Argentina, is this something where you're just kind of working on your game continuously before you just, fall into their season?
Their season starts when the East Coast Open ends.
No, you're right. It goes right into October, and then, yeah. No, I'm just fascinated by your polo schedule and how demanding it is because, when I talk to people, they're very interested in terms of how polo works in terms of around the world. And, my best description I tell them is just, they follow the polo seasons, or they're like surfers in a way. They're traveling where the waves are going to be for that season. In this case, it's here they are in the States during winter, spring. Then in the summer, some of the better guys, they'll go to England and they'll play, and then they go to Argentina.
Yeah, that's amazing. The polo there is great. Like, we watch all the games in England.
Do you have any plans in the future to go and play there?
We can't afford it. So it's so expensive. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Would love to play there. Love to play. Uh-huh. It would be a dream come true, but that's never going to happen. It's just too much for us. But we're certainly cheering people on over there. So Fran plays there, and so we try to catch every single game he plays. So we support him from the US and via WhatsApp.
I love it, man. You're just focused on, this is my goal. This is my path. This is where I want to play in Argentina. I got to work on raising my handicap. So what is your handicap right now that you're going up to?
I'm one in America, I guess, soon.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not sure how it works. And then I'm one in Argentina, and we'll see what they decide the handicap should be come in December. I think mid-December they have new handicaps that come out.
Okay.
And then the idea is hopefully we have a good season here in the US and I'm able to improve my game and go back to Argentina mid-April and May to try to play in some tournaments. And if I do well, keep going up.
Do you have a handicap goal in mind?
At least 6, because that's what you need, 6 to play in the Argentine Open. So that would be the dream come true. But yeah, not even close. Long way to go. Long way to go.
Outside the Board Season 3 podcast is presented by the National Polo Center, Wellington. The National Polo Center in Wellington, Florida is located in the heart of South Florida's legendary horse country. The permanent home for polo in America, NPC is owned and managed by the United States Polo Association to showcase the finest the sport has to offer. The association's premier event, the Gauntlet of Polo, takes place from February to April each winter season. Throughout the year, the facilities are also used to showcase USPA member clubs and prestigious national tournament competition. Watching polo from the stadium, private boxes, field-side tailgates, or special hospitality tents, all overlooking the US Polo ASSN Field 1 is an unparalleled experience. NPC invites you to enjoy the best polo in the country, taking place at one of the most beautiful venues in the world, the National Polo Center, Wellington. For more information, visit nationalpolocenter.com.
Polo in Argentina is obviously different, so there's less handling of the ball. I mean, it's war. A lot more open game, a lot of back shots.
A lot of people always say, it's a better and faster game. Everyone wants to play quick. The adrenaline's high, where it's much slower game. So that's echoed across a lot of people. What does the U.S. need to do to change the flow of the game to make it a much more faster in any sort of way?
The U.S. is definitely taking the right steps to make that happen. I mean, they're always adopting and trying out new things. I probably shouldn't say that because I'm not, let's say, the nicest guy on the field and I need to learn more. But I think one of the things that people could change is the way that we kind of treat the referees here in the United States. In Argentina, there is no talking. I mean, obviously, the greats, they can talk, but it's much less. I played in rare matches, but I mean, I had no right to talk to a referee in Argentina, and you try to talk to them and it's yellow card, or they'll tell you they'll give you yellow and they'll really give you yellow afterwards. There's no arguing. There's no disrespect. I mean, I'm sure there is, but I can tell you that, we kept our mouths shut. Fran was the only one allowed to talk, and still when Fran spoke, and, it was a lot more constructive. Here in the US, it gets a little too crazy sometimes. And again, I can't even believe I'm telling you that because unfortunately I've been the one who,
you're guilty of it.
I'm guilty. I can certainly learn to be better. Yes.
And in terms of like your conversations with Russ, like the confrontation between player and ref, that sort of thing, where it's just, berating them for not calling something or being aware of something that's going on in the field. Is it that kind of discussion when you say having a dialogue with the ref?
Yeah, I mean, it speed up the game a lot more, right? If there's only one person that speaks, and if you have to be respectful of the ref. Here in the US, I feel like sometimes there's 8 players on the ref at the same time. At least to my experience, that does not fly down there, and it helps speeds up the game a lot more. I don't know if it's always been like that, but at least that was the experience that we had, and I thought that was really neat.
There's only 8 guys on the field. It's not like football. I think they even do it less. And there's 22 guys on the field.
Yeah, I mean, like, when Tom Brady talks to the ref, maybe, obviously, they listen a little bit more. Same goes for polo, but
I mean, it's okay to have like a friendly dialogue with the ref, like, hey, you got to keep an eye on this sort of thing or what have you that's going on. But, to your point, I do see a lot of unnecessary confrontation, or is this like, look, just stick to the game, accept what you had done wrong as a penalty, that sort of thing. You don't want to throw your team further under the bus. That's not going to be necessary at all. I know they've continue to crack down on that behavior. I mean, the institution of the yellow and red card, which is still pretty young in itself, wasn't the worst idea. Do they do that in Argentina, the yellow and the red cards and everything? Yeah. So that seems to be universally adopted now.
I won't name the clubs or the players, but there's certain clubs where maybe at times you get a home field advantage.
Yeah.
Then I'll be the first one to tell you that also it's not fair for the players that are on the opposite team, and maybe kind of voicing your opinion a little bit louder may end up being an advantage or a complete disadvantage. In my case, the experiences I've had, it's been a complete disadvantage because I certainly behaved in certain ways. So did Robbie and some of the other team members. Maybe we could have done things a little bit different. But to go back to your point, there's something that could be done different, is certainly respecting the refs more, and then just saying, okay, only one person is talking, and as soon as somebody opens their mouth, that's not the captain, then, start handing out yellow cards. I mean, I know it's terrible, but, people are going to learn real quick.
That's big of you to say something like that. Like it's going to be the captain. That's the one who's going to have a dialogue, and you just kind of have to bite your lip. It's a highly adrenaline fueled sport. Everyone wants to talk. Your emotions are at their highest level in a game like this. But at the end of the day, when you're playing at the level that you're playing at, you should be able to table that behavior. Because, like to your point, polo is a gentleman's game, just like golf is a gentleman's game.
Yeah.
So there's just no need for that behavior. You're 100% right.
Now, I'm not saying that there's no need for that behavior with the other players.
Yeah.
That's a completely different scenario.
Mm-hmm.
That's between the players themselves, but just the ref.
When I worked for the USPA, obviously there's definite confrontations out on the field, but I don't mind the banter a team has or the swearing that might be going on the field. It's like, that's part of any sport. But the moment that appears as though the teams are going to come out of the dugout, then we got a problem.
Yeah, unfortunately, our organization, we come out of the dugout a lot.
Yeah. It's like hockey in a way. It's just like, I think sometimes people even go there just to hope that the gloves are going to come off to some degree. But there's just certain games where I think that a lot of people would lose a lot of respect. The game of polo is under already kind of a microscope just in terms of, the fact that horses are involved.
Sure.
It's interesting, but that's a great conversation to have. And by all means, Louis, having that discussion today is totally fine. I mean, the whole point of this conversation and this podcast is even discussed things that are uncomfortable. Who's doing it right? Who's doing it wrong? What kind of things would you like to change? Because people are going to hear that and hopefully it sparks some type of conversation. I know the rules committee with the USPA, and I think they're having their annual meetings with Hurlingham and the Argentine Polo Association, I think in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what's on the agenda or the big topics these days, but the big three getting together, I mean, that trickles down to the other associations across the world. So to make the game as authentic as possible, and I think everyone kind of looks to Argentina, it's the apex of our game. And if everyone can adopt it to make it that more exciting, I think everyone would be for it. That's for sure.
Yes. Argentina, every country is different, right?
Yeah.
So not necessarily everything that works over there is going to work over here. Take prize money, for example.
Yeah.
The fact that there used to be 8 teams in the gauntlet before last year, 6 or 7 of the previous team owners said it wasn't worth, re-upping the insurance to give a team an opportunity to win, a tremendous amount of money, which Mr. Pilot did, his first year in.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible idea.
Do they have prize money anywhere else? Is there prize money in Argentina? I don't think I've had this conversation with anyone.
No, they don't. I mean, obviously, the teams like La Dolfina and Natividad, I'm sure, they do well with their sponsors.
Yeah.
But, just to be able to have prize money that the team owners should then repurpose and allocate to their players, to encourage the players to bring more horses, to encourage the players to play harder, or, give the opportunity to smaller teams to say, okay, if a player doesn't have a job, but he happens to be in Wellington, look, I'll cover your expenses. And, if we do well in the tournament, you get to keep the prize money.
Yeah. Every single time that we've had prize money up here in Chicago, as far as I'm concerned, that's the primary usage, is that the players benefit from it. That means they're bonuses at the end of the day for, working hard and so on and so forth. And unlike Argentina, I'm pretty sure at least the teams would benefit. Yeah, they have their own sponsors. They're much more commercially positioned to generate those types of sponsorship revenue. And I have no doubt that there's probably media rights, whether that trickles down to the teams, I'm not sure, just like it does here in mainstream sports. Here in the US, if there wasn't those types of media dollars, you probably have, a less professional amount of football teams, that's for sure, or NASCAR teams, in the whole entire mix, if they weren't getting the millions of dollars from media rights. Because that would be a game changer if that ever existed here in the US. But as far as I'm concerned, the business model is flipped.
The only way it's going to exist here in the US is if, more people watch polo. So,
yeah. And that's the trouble, is right now the model is time by. So they're paying to be on ESPN or NBC or what have you. It's not the reverse. And part of the reasons why it's not the reverse is not enough people are watching it to make it financially beneficial to the network to do it. They're not going to throw $500,000 at something that they could not, regain those expenses whatsoever.
Sure.
It's not $1 million program. It's the business model and that kind of how it works. But, Global Pole TV and what they've managed to do, it's great. I mean, I can turn on my on demand and watch it whenever I want to. And it's kind of nice. I got a local restaurant, Gibson's, to start putting it on Sundays up here in Chicago when there's stuff going on as part of our partnership.
I know Gibson's. That's great.
Yeah. We love it up here. Well, they have the Boathouse, I think, down there somewhere in Florida. I think that's a big restaurant of theirs. But yeah, man, Louis, this has been a fantastic conversation. It really has.
Appreciate it.
It just goes to show that, you know, individuals like yourself who are getting into the game, you can really become a success, provided that you work your ass off. You can be successful in this game. I mean, you do have the financial means. Yes, it's an expensive sport and so on and so forth. And no doubtedly that has helped contribute. But, you know, physically and mentally, you've had to work your butt off as well to do it. And that's a real testament to your work ethic. No doubt about it. And I think anyone can do it. I think don't be scared of the game and what the commitment is for you if people like yourself are doing it. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I would say, though, the big contributing factor to all this happening is just really the players. I go back to Robbie and Lucas and even Fran, you know, all of our players, they make it possible, you know, financially.
Oh, just an overall enjoyable experience.
Yeah. And because you know, we're not a big budget organization. And at the same time, the family aspect that the organization has, I think, is second to none when it comes to our team. And the grooms, I can't even tell you how great they are. It's just everybody feels like they're part of the team. So they make it all possible. So it definitely has been a lot of fun.
Now you have a son too, right? Ames is his name?
Little man, yeah. Ames, yeah. He just turned 5, and then he's starting to enjoy horses. So
has he taken his first riding lessons? When was his first time getting on a pony? That wasn't you holding him while you were riding.
Well, I mean, just pulling the horse, you know, him on the horse, it was a couple of years ago. But now he keeps telling Pamela that he wants a pony for Christmas and he wants to name him Spider-Man. So, well, that switched, I think, yesterday, and now he wants to name him Harry Potter. But
oh boy,
yeah, it's just that, you know, for the kids, I mean, that's another thing about the game that people don't get to see, unfortunately, that much, is the family aspect. I mean,
yeah,
you know, these players, and the teams, you know, they bring their kids everywhere with them. You know, there's just so much happiness, camaraderie, and it's just such a great sport for families.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
That's something I've witnessed over the last 2 years, and we've been so fortunate to be part of.
I mean, just the Argentine families and the dynasties that they have, you know, the ones that we have up here, the Obregons and the Anato family, you know, I'm sure you cross paths with Dolores Anato and Inez, who played alongside Pamela Flanagan for her Hawaii polo life. They're a fantastic family. And then even going through the academy up here, you always see a father and son. You always see a mother and daughter picking up the game together to ride along with. You know, I have a 6-year-old, soon to be 7 tomorrow, and a 4-year-old. And my daughter started to ride as of this past fall. And it was fun watching her pick up a mallet that's twice the size of her, reach down to hit a polo ball, and she's hooked herself.
Yeah.
She's already cantering next to her instructor and getting the handle of having to, you know, the confidence and building a rapport with the pony and knowing how to control him. And it's a lot of fun to watch. Because I started riding when I was probably about 10 years old, and I've always loved horses. And there's so many life lessons that one can gain from riding a horse. And I don't know if you feel the same way.
Every day.
Yeah, the responsibilities, the bravery, the confidence that it gives an individual, you know, if they fall off and they have the ability to dust themselves and get back on, is a huge thing to see a kid do.
Yes.
It makes me so proud watching her ride.
That's great.
To end this conversation, if you were talking to someone who had watched the sport and was interested in playing, what would you say to sell them on getting into the game just like you did?
Let's see. I mean, obviously, really, you know, going around and asking as many questions as possible and looking for the right individual to guide you as you get into the sport.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that first connection with basically you're almost like a trusted advisor, I would say. Yeah. You can get burnt really quick when it comes to polo. It's unfortunate, you know, I think a lot of the times pros have, you know, they may be narrow-minded a little bit I don't know if that's the word, but trying to make a lot of money really quick. And
Yeah.
it scares people off. So, if you want to get into the sport, just be super, super diligent. Ask around, just look for somebody that's the right fit for you to kind of help you navigate and, set expectations on all fronts, set expectations, with, the level of polo that you can reach, when you can reach it by, expectations with, your finances.
Mm-hmm.
You can just really focus hard on getting a clear understanding of what it's going to take from a time perspective, just in every aspect of the game. I personally almost got burnt out. I almost quit polo because, unfortunately, there were some people that I kind of was looking to provide me with, advices and what to buy, when to buy, what tournaments to enter, and what to do. And had I not met Robbie, we wouldn't be talking right now.
That's some great advice. You caught the polo bug, but if it wasn't the people that you surrounded yourself to develop your game, they play equal important to your overall polo experience, no doubt about it. Because I hear a lot of people who get burned. They associate themselves with the wrong people, they get hustled, and they're out of the game. They're out of money. And I wish that on no one.
Yes, I 100% have experienced that. It's unfortunate.
Everyone has a story. I mean, I think everyone who I've spoken to has some type of story. We're not going to name names or anything like that, but everyone has.
I'm not going to do it. Yeah. It's terrible because, again, it goes back to those people involved. If they were clear about things and transparent, then you'd be holding on to that job and that relationship for a long time. So often you see people telling you, oh, you're doing a great job. This is an amazing horse. No, and you should pay X for this horse. You're going to get a great deal. You'll be able to flip it even if you decide to get out of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to get out of the sport and the horse worth a tiny fraction of what you paid for it because it's just poor advice.
Yeah.
You're purchasing horses that are not fit to play, a certain level of polo.
Mm-hmm.
And, the list goes on and on. So,
well, big shout out to Robbie, Fran, and the rest of the Lefebvre polo team. That's for sure.
Sure.
Got a rock star organization, man.
We're very lucky. Thank you.
Well, excellent. Louis, I appreciate you taking the time with me, man. Again, congratulations on your engagement to one of my favorite people in the polo world. Pamela, you're awesome. Nice shout out for you.
She is awesome, yes.
Love her family, her brothers, her sister, and her parents are kick-ass too. I love conversations with her dad.
Thank you very much for having me on your podcast.
Absolutely, really, man. Hopefully we get a chance to meet in the future, and best of luck to you. Happy holidays to you.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays to you and your family as well.
Thank you, Louis. In 2012, the founders of Outside the Boards witnessed their first polo match and were stunned by the sport's beauty and brutality. Few sports, if any, have these combined qualities. The sport's grace, intensity, and warlike imagery create a shock and awe viewing experience like none other. Combine this with the sport's party-like atmosphere and lifestyle and you have a recipe for success. Today, the sport has yet to witness its full potential. The industry is fragmented, riddled with politics and inexperience. Outside the Boards was purposely designed to change all that and bring clarity to the sport by introducing best practices, insights, trends, and consulting services to industry stakeholders and interested brands so that they can reach their marketing potential and better navigate the sport. Whether you're a club seeking custom sponsorship and marketing solutions or simply looking for strategic advice, we encourage you to contact us today or subscribe to gain access to industry insights. Visit us at www.outsidetheboards.com or to learn more or email us at info@outsidetheboards.com. Now we have reached the part of the show where we address outside the boards issues affecting the sport of polo with the sharing of insights, ideas, and best practices towards solving everyday marketing, branding, and sponsorship problems, avoiding bad habits, or helping to navigate through new trends and how to best leverage those opportunities. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode's Insights. Since we were on the topic of a polo team and talking a little about Lefebvre, I wanted to kind of emphasize and walk down that road. Now, I think in my first season, I did talk a little bit about polo team marketing, what polo teams can do to enhance themselves and really encourage it. And I want to, again, take the time to emphasize that area, because I often see a lot of polo teams that are out there who are definitely committed. You see them year after year after year, that there really isn't a brand presence. There's not a place for me, the fan or spectator, can go to learn a little bit about them, learn a little bit about the players, learn a little about the history of the team, the patron, the horses. Is there a club affiliation? Are there sponsor affiliations? What's the story? Because oftentimes I will tell you that even from a media perspective, if I was from the polo media or outside media, it is so difficult to find information about players and their teams and information about them. It's like going through a black hole sometimes. And I really got to give credit for a number of teams that are out there that do a fantastic job. And one of those that has been incredibly noticeable and put on the map, in part because of the fantastic marketing that they have done and brand positioning via social media and on the web, is the Lafay Polo team, who I just interviewed with Mr. Devaleix. So that's a big one. They're consistent. Their brand is consistent. Their color schemes, everything that they're doing. So huge props to the Lafay Polo team. And I think if you are a polo team and you're looking to do something similar, by all means, they are a fantastic benchmark, if you will, to model yourself around. And there's organizations such as Outside the Boards that can very well do this for you if you're looking to do something like that, and working with photographers, being in touch with media and communications when you're playing tournaments to get images and outcomes of how you're doing and so on and so forth, and really being on top of it. So again, I really, really encourage it. Again, I want to double down on what I had said, I think in season 1 about polo teams marketing themselves, and they just don't do it enough. And I really encourage them to do. Now, I know, and you'll listen to this podcast, obviously, that I had with Mr. Devaleix, and we talk about a number of things, and a lot of things that usually come up when I do talk about polo teams is even merchandise and how difficult sometimes it is to find and purchase team merchandise. And I think there's some people out there that I know for a fact, I've had many deep conversations, would echo this, that's something that would be loved to see. You know, it's just like me going to Fanatics and picking out gear from my college sports team, going and getting Northwestern gear, or Wisconsin Milwaukee, or getting Packers gear. Yes, I am a cheesehead, for those of you who haven't known. Not so much Bears, not here, but I will give credit to the Cubs. But also a Brewers fan. So all of that kind of stuff. So it would just be nice. And I know the team here at Outside the Boards is trying to figure that out. We are trying to develop a model right now in terms of merchandising that we would put together the branding, the logo, and so on and so forth on a very basic platform where teams can obviously generate royalties to give the opportunity for fans to buy the gear, whether it be a hat or t-shirt. That's simple. Doesn't have to be the real fancy stuff at the end of the day. It could be very, very basic. Doesn't take a lot of whole effort to do, guys. It really, really doesn't. So, you know, I don't want to drop names on this insights, but you probably know who you are. And if you do, I think there's a lot of great people out there that would love to do this. They have a knack for it. Whether they're going to volunteer, whether it's paid, I don't think a lot of work really needs to be done in the background to do it. So again, really, really want to emphasize that. And another big shout out to the Lafay Polo team for the fantastic work that they do and have done in terms of developing their brand, because in a very short amount of time, they're one of the polo teams that is out there that comes top of mind when it comes to this stuff and one is the most visible. I guarantee if I were to put metrics against some of the most visible polo teams that are out there that do a fantastic job in terms of promoting themselves, Lafay would definitely be up there within the short amount of time that they've had. And it's not just playing here in the United States and playing elsewhere as well that help it. So they're a year-round team, but it's exciting stuff. And then obviously a big shout out to the women's polo team winning the Women's US Open as well. That just adds to the hype around their team as well. So again, doubling down, you polo teams out there, do what you can. If you want a little help, please don't hesitate to contact Outside the Boards. More than happy to help you out in that area. But that's it, everyone. Enjoy and have a great day. Bye. That was a great episode. What is the one thing you learned from today's conversation? If this episode had an impact on you in some way, then I encourage you to visit and subscribe to our website at OutsideTheBoards.com for more episodes and interviews with incredible guests. Thanks for stopping by, my friends, and hope to see you on the polo field.